This is the artificial intelligence voice of Ali Abdaal narrating this pod-slice summary of the Deep Dive podcast. Kenneth Cukier is a renowned journalist and author who has contributed significantly to the understanding of big data and its implications on society. In his discussion with Ali Abdaal on the Deep Dive podcast, he delves deep into the intricacies of artificial intelligence, big data, providing valuable insights on both topics. Kenneth shares his perspective on AI, including how it has evolved over the years. He highlights the manner in which AI could potentially transform the way we live and work, and not always in a positive way. Notably, he determines that AI will indeed change the nature of jobs, reflecting on historical technological advancements for comparison. However, he argues that whether this translates to satisfying or well-paid work is fully dependent on how we reshape work in this new context. On big data, Kenneth outlines his journey to popularize the term in the media through his articles in The Economist, following his realization of the potential power of digitized information. He points out how massive amounts of data have forced us to develop new methods and infrastructure for processing it, situation that gave rise to the term big data. And during the discussion, he also addresses the potential health implications of big data. Drawing on his experiences in the medical world, he draws attention to the fact that we currently have enormous amounts of patient data that could be harnessed to drastically improve healthcare outcomes. In fact, Kenneth advocates for an ARA co-pilot system that could help healthcare practitioners make decisions based on historical data from similar patients, thus improving diagnosis and treatment. In terms of the changes needed to fully leverage this data, Kenneth mentions the need for regulatory modifications. He expresses the view that the current privacy laws were not designed for a world filled with massive amounts of statistics and suggests loosening them in a strategic manner, all while maintaining their strict enforcement. Kenneth underlines the potential of big data by stating that with a sufficiently large body of data, one can achieve things that are inherently impossible with smaller sets. He reaffirms that the idea of big data. And it's not just about the technology or even about the data itself, but about the layers of meaning, interpretation, and implication that can be derived from it. Realistically, the idea of artificial intelligence and big data is deeply entrenched into our society's framework and possible future. So to drive this point home, during his discussion with Ali Abdaal on the Deep Dive podcast, with an emphasis on how every sector, from healthcare to marketing, is intrinsically tied to these concepts. Presenting an enlightening view of AI, Kenneth explains its origins, tied to our historical fascination with automated beings. From Greek mythology to Alan Turing's vision and the word originating from roboto, meaning to all, AI has always been an anticipated part of our future. Now, as we have the chance to leverage AI, Kenneth brings to light the importance of implementing it wisely. Especially the example of Google spam filters, initially developed using machine learning to identify spam emails, the same engineers then created a model to recognize early signs of cancer from a retina scan. Kenneth emphasizes that such revolutionary strides can only be made with a large body of data, showcasing how big data is thus directly tied to the success of AI. Kenneth goes on to discuss the adaptation of AI in the healthcare sector and acknowledges the complexities entailed. For instance, when AI models categorize X-ray images, it's critical to determine if a human second opinion is sought and how sensitive or specific the model should be. Importantly, Kenneth promotes a data duty of care mentale. If we have valuable data that can improve human well-being, we have responsibility to use it. But he also underlines the complexity of introducing data-driven models into healthcare, given variable factors like emergency situations, geographical location, and medical infrastructure availability. Speaking of big data's potential, Kenneth highlights its part in segmenting customers on platforms like Amazon, leading to better targeted marketing. In his view, we have a moral duty to apply information to our problems and improve the world. In his exploration of AI and big data, Kenneth Cukier fosters an understanding of how every industry's future is linked to these concepts. He reiterates that we must wisely and responsibly navigate this data-laden era, harnessing the immense prospects it offers. In his discussion with host Ali Abdaal on the Deep Dive podcast, Kenneth Cukier dives into the nitty-gritty of artificial intelligence, in particular, the transition from classical AI programming to the advent of machine learning. Cukier explores artificial intelligence's historical arc, starting from when Alan Turing proposed computing models that made decisions mirroring humans at about 1950. The initial idea was to program computers following human decision-making pathways from the 1950s to the 1990s. According to Cukier, programmers intended to mimic human thinking, rational and sequential, using programming languages like Lisp. However, he underscores how this approach had its drawbacks, most strikingly because humans do not always think sequentially nor rationally, as cognitive psychology and neuroscience reveal. Cukier explains the shift from this classical AI, or good old-fashioned day at 2 mountain machine learning. This transition took place because the Go methodology was increasingly challenging to yield results due to constraints in computer processing power, memory, and cost. A new technique gained traction called statistical machine learning, which allowed machines to sift through a plethora of data and generate their inference. A complete deviation from the explicit instruction-guided AI. Seeing the application of this technique, Cukier offers a simple example. Instead of programming specific criteria to identify a cat in a picture, we could instead provide the AI with millions of cat images under various conditions. The AI would then develop its own statistical model to recognize a cat, an approach far more efficient and adaptable to the real world's unpredictability. CK mentions 3 individuals who pursued this approach. Geoffrey Hinton, Yoshi Benjo, and Yan LeCun. Together, they reframed AI, making it less dependent on explicit rules and opening it up to learning from vast amounts of information. This technique, coupled with improvements in computer processing power and memory costs, led to a revolution in AI around 2012. The conversation then segues into discussing some of the products provided by the show sponsors. Kajabi. Q provides meal replacement drinks with a wide range of flavors and enriched with necessary vitamins and minerals, while Kajabi is an all-encompassing platform that offers creators tools to diversify their revenue, including hosting online courses, communities, podcasts, and coaching materials. The host, Ali Abdaal, himself a user of Kajabi, praises its effectiveness in running an online business, handling everything from marketing to analytics all in one place. Ali Abdaal and Kenneth Cukier continue their deep exploration into AI, in particular machine learning, with a conversation around how computers can now process mass amounts of data to the extent of recognizing handwriting and editors. Abdaal struggles to understand how feeding a machine millions of images of a cat would lead the machine to classify a cat autonomously. Cukier explains the example of handwriting recognition around 1990 to 2000. Rather than defining rules to identify us. No. A machine learning algorithm can overlay all collected images and make an inference. Cukier describes this approach as humbling, stating it implies human being cannot explicitly describe the phenomenon it's trying to accurately predict. This idea could revolutionize sectors like medicine, where an AI could potentially be able to diagnose cancer more accurately than a human being. The conversation brings in 3 pivotal figures in the evolution of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, Yoshi Benjo, and Yan LeCun. They became champions of a statistical approach which later birthed the method called deep learning. A question of what constitutes a neural network arises. Cukier attempts to simplify it by likening it to synapses in our brain that connect to form ideas. The concept of an artificial neural network simulates this process, wherein data is taken layer by layer, achieving increasing levels of abstraction until it can make a diagnosis. For example, an artificial neural network could analyze an X-ray image layer by layer until it could detect a fracture in a femur bone. All like questions about another technique called transformers, to which Cukier admitted he wouldn't embark on explaining. According to him, it involves a process of recombination using condenses, which can be the roots, suffixes, or plurals of words. In the end, the discussion implies a continued dive into newer techniques such as GPT, which creates autonomous text generation. Here, the machine learning system uses prompts to generate responses, opening a whole new frontier in AI evolution. Continuing their exploration into AI, Ali Abdaal and Kenneth Cukier discuss the capabilities and limitations of AI systems, particularly GPT generative pre-training transformer. Cukier uses a coin toss analogy, stating AI likens to a prediction of tossing a coin in a specific sequence. So it might predict accurately. It's not necessarily knowing the right answer, but rather presenting what it believes a correct response looks like. As he warns against the misuse of AI by highlighting that it doesn't possess a sense of causality. It does not have innate knowledge or morality. For human beings, it's critical to control AI instead of allowing it to control us. Cukier's approach towards AI is pragmatic. He views AI as a tool that is as foundational as language, numeracy, electricity, and computing. However, he warns against attributing human faculties such as intellect and flexibility to AI. Cukier acknowledges the sheer power of AI, its capability to execute tasks humans can't, but maintains that we need to retain our decision-making prowess. The conversation veers into a philosophical realm as the duo explores the line separating humans and AI. Cukier insists that we as living beings participate in something greater than ourselves, a notion that can only be understood on a spiritual level. Unlike machines, we share a bond with everybody alive, with our ancestors, and with our posterity, a bond that machines can never replicate. Humans are not just their intellect, they are their spirits. The duo discusses that advancements in evolution might grant impressive intellectual capabilities, but it won't necessarily be doing everything right because we are not only intellect, but also spirit. Cukier stresses the importance of harnessing AI instead of surrendering our cognitive functions. Analyzing new trends in technology, the host and the guests get into the sponsor segment. which details investing in broad stock market index funds using Trading 212. The platform allows free, commission-free investment in stocks, shares, and funds, and allows users to manage a portion of their portfolio. Like a digital age has brought about countless changes, as Ali Abdaal and Kenneth Cukier dive into in their podcast. The discussion focused extensively on the Trading 212 platform, which offers free, commission-free investments in stocks, shares, and funds. The platform simplifies the complex process of investing by offering a tool called pies. These are pre-made investment portfolios created by experienced hedge fund traders or other seasoned investors, providing a way to streamline the investment process. The platform also offers multi-currency accounts, which aid in reducing foreign exchange fees. Considering the existential risk I might hold, Cukier highlights that the risk is present, but significantly reduced through a constant discussion about it. The more we analyze and dissect the idea, the better we can develop regulations to prevent any rogue behavior from these AI systems. He asserts that human beings should always be in the control loop, whether it's a trading system at a bank or a defense system guarding our borders. Evaluating modern society, Cukier assigns blame to our diminishing attention span, our increasingly luxurious lifestyles, and an absence of sacrifice that fosters an environment of infantilization. He critiques our modern disposition to look at serious situations more like video games than real-life scenarios with tangible consequences, and equates the societal issue to problems that have emerged since the advent of social media. Cukier then explores the idea of a dignity, an inherent right for each living being. He proposes that the concept of liberty and equality might be replaced with dignity, shifting the societal focus to treating each other with respect and decency. The conversation took a historical turn as they compared modern societies with those of our predecessors. They explored the changing societal values, with a particular emphasis on liberty, equality, and dignity. Cukier expressed concern over our general lack of long-term thinking and concluded by emphasizing the importance of asserting one's dignity in digital interactions. This might provide the basis for a culture that ensures fairness and respect for all. In this portion of the podcast, Kenneth Cukier explains his perspective on dignity, particularly in relation to how a diverse world comes together in significant ways, such as the composition of contributors to AI papers. He presents an intriguing narrative of different cultures, backgrounds, and names, all working together to contribute to technological progress. This challenges old, ideologically backward beliefs in racism, showing the potential for a blend of global minds united by a common cause: the exploration of AI and improving our world. The conversation then shifts to employment sectors affected by AI, with Cukier boldly stating that AI will indeed take over jobs, but not all of them emphasizing that we always have agency on how we adapt to technological change. Using truck drivers as an example, he suggests that while their job might be significantly changed, there might still be a role for them in the last mile delivery process. As the concept of work changes, Cukier foresees further alterations, like a shift towards a 4-day work week. Remembering that at one time, 6-day work weeks were the norm. He voices his belief that societal and employment models must continuously adapt towards healthier and more fulfilling lives as technology continues to advance. Addressing what gives humans an edge over AI. Cukier identifies 3 cognitive capabilities: causality, counterfactuals, and constraints. These unique abilities allow us to understand cause and effect beyond just observational data, to fill in informational gaps based on our experiences, and to function effectively within the constraints of our environment. He also provides insight into his professional life at The Economist, describing how it stands out among journalistic enterprises due to its balanced, thoughtful, and mission-focused approach. Finally, Cukier explains his role as the deputy executive editor, where he ensures that all activities adhere to the brand's values and raises the organization's standard across various units, including journalism, events, education, research, and more. Kenneth Cukier delves into the current state of journalism, discussing how multiple truths can coexist in this information age, given the explosion of media channels. He contrasts individuals who remain mostly passive regarding world issues with those who understand their potential to affect change. For him, The Economist caters to this latter group, offering them valuable insights to help them reshape the world. He shares concerns for urgent problems like climate change, inequality, regulation, geopolitical tension, as well as threats to human dignity and respect, expressing that it's time for rational individuals to tackle these issues. He articulates that The Economist exists to facilitate this rational discourse and problem solving. Responding to Ali Abdaal's query about understanding the world better, Cukier empathetically encourages him not to despair, but to take baby steps, learning gradually through resources like The Economist's daily podcasts, The Intelligence. This podcast blends various stories covering a broad spectrum of topics and serves as a mini guide to understanding world happenings. Towards the end, Cukier rejects the idea of having final words of wisdom. Instead, he encourages reminding oneself that the world is complex, and even if we don't have all the answers, we should strive to do our best amidst its uncertainties. The podcast concludes with Ali expressing gratitude to his guests and their audience, encouraging people to either comment or leave a review to grow their community.